presentation around mentors for students. So I invite staff to join us so we can get started, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, commissioners. Are you able to see my screen?
We are.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm grateful for your time today. Can you hear me too? Right?
Yeah, loud and
Okay,
clear.
awesome. I'm grateful for your time today, commissioners. As you see, I'm Dr. Sophia Rudisill Holmes, lead of mentoring and adult relationships, also known as MAR. We're guided by the belief that every student deserves a mentor. And I'd also like to highlight that January is National Mentoring Month. So today I'll provide an update on what we're building to leverage student mentoring to increase our student wholeness composite score and increase our four-year graduation rate. Our agenda aims to ground MAR work in board priorities, district goals, and the blueprint, provide an overview of MAR core work, and share our pathway forward with a spotlight. We have a special treat today on our impact and action as 12th grader Travis Pennington and AP Pirelli. They'll join us today to share their experience with the piloted school-based near-to-peer mentoring program at City College. This work sits mostly in 4 of the 7 priorities highlighted. Within our district's 4 main goals as members of the Office of Secondary Success and Innovation, our home, MAR mostly focuses on graduation and wholeness. We've been working with colleagues to identify ways to leverage student mentoring to enhance CCR support pathways to support students in meeting the standard according to Pillar 3. And with Pillar 4, we've been focused on supporting wraparound services and community support through widening the table of mentoring programming options for our schools. So with all of that said, there is a heavy focus. I want to be clear, a heavy focus on access in terms of the MAR goal. We're aiming for 100% of our students to have access by 27-28, so they have the choice of a mentor, caring adult. Research suggests student mentoring is one of the few prevention and intervention strategies that can effectively address multiple risk and protective factors simultaneously. We know locally and nationally the impact of mentoring means students are 52% less likely to skip school, 58% report, and these are adults now, mental health support, 55% more are likely to enroll in college. So our progress has been establishing the MAR team in 2021 and taking a customized approach for each school community. We're building a sustainable infrastructure to scale impact. With the MAR team structure consisting of a manager and 3 specialists covering different regions, plans for additional site-based coordinators, and support roles for impact evaluation, communications, and recruitment that help lift the work, our framework and strategy aims to support 100% of our schools as a resource through the consultancy protocol. Schools are beginning to engage MAR in 3 functional areas: mentor recruitment, onboarding, school capacity building, and programming guidance and support. Our protocol aims to enhance SPP outcomes via student-driven participatory methods, as well as inform partnership engaged practices aligned with MSDE indicators and our district goals. We leverage 2 models vetted by OAA team: student mentoring program and school-based mentoring, in support of the 2 indicators outlined in the school capacity building strategy slide: school quality and student success indicator, and readiness for post-secondary success indicator. We're seeing healthy progress toward our growth and success. Last year, 40 of our schools budgeted for student mentoring for this school year. We served 981 students with 985 mentors across 14 schools. So that's 12 high schools and 2 middle schools. We've expanded our mentoring program portfolio from 2 to 15 mentoring program options to serve our students' diverse needs, and we want that list to grow. The choice of student mentoring programming depends on the needs of our students and what is requested from our schools. We currently work with established programs including iMentor and Next Gen Scholars for College Access and Young Men United, I Am Mentality for Black and Latino male leadership, Sister Circle, middle and high school girls girls elevate academic attendance and support thread, specifically removing barriers, getting students on track to graduate, future ready, one framework that we use, and success mentors, another, with 3 partnerships and development steps towards success, specifically to lift the work of diversion in the UMBC Choice Program, as well as Improve Your Tomorrow, Young Men of Color. We're also collaborating with Bloomberg Associates on our stakeholder strategy for 25-26. And Mentor Maryland DC remains a vital partner in strengthening student mentoring across our district. We believe in student voice, and we've identified key themes from our student feedback. Students have elevated the importance of supportive, non-judgmental relationships, diverse needs and expectations, practical and career-oriented support, evaluation criteria and feedback mechanisms. As a result, we've piloted a student influence survey to strengthen our feedback loop. So future plans, as our pathway forward is informed by student feedback, as we expand access to mentoring across the district, we work cross-functionally with key colleagues in our Secondary Success and Innovation Home Office, Work-Based Learning and On Track to Graduate. We work closely with them, also working with academic student support teams to leverage mentoring as an intensive intervention. With the Whole Child Office, we're developing diversion partnerships, providing strategic programming, oversight, and mentorship support tailored to each student's unique needs. With the Healing Center and Violence Prevention Response, we are working to support their focus on both preventative programming and immediate mentor deployment. So MAR is developing processes to coordinate with partners on recruitment, vetting, alignment of right fit organizations. And then with continuing school support and capacity building, most recently, we've begun conversations with the school's office to better support our re-engagement team's efforts with student mentoring, specifically with our students exiting DJS, going through the rec center intake process, mentoring in the transition center, and within the school enrollment process, and students experiencing homelessness. MAR is uniquely positioned to support our colleagues through strategic programming alignment with partners, oversight, and mentor recruitment. And lastly, building an infrastructure for partnership engagement. We continue to collaborate with the Equity Office, especially through Be More Me. Communications, engagement, and enrollment team provides significant support with Pi Portal for volunteer and partner management. We work with community school coordinators through the consultancy protocol to increase mentoring visibility through city schools. So as you can see, deep breath, this is a whole system effort. And we've now gotten a model at a cost to under $10 per student projected for 78,000 students. So enough of all of that. I'm super excited to have a student, thrilled to highlight one of our leaders, Travis Pennington, a 12th grader, and an AP Pirelli from City College, to talk about the impact of the school-based near-to-peer mentoring program we piloted at City this year. So I'm going to pause so that they can come on camera and share.
Oh, thank you all. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Giovanna Pirelli, one of the assistant principals of Baltimore City College, and I'm also the director of institutional advancement. Today, I want to share the vision behind our mentorship program at Baltimore City College and the tremendous impact it can have throughout Baltimore City Public Schools. This initiative not only fosters personal growth and academic achievement, but it also cultivates a strong sense of community and support within our schools. Together, we can unlock the full potential of our students and create a brighter future for all. So let's talk about the why. This past summer, Baltimore City College administration team, we analyzed all of our IB, International Baccalaureate program data. It was like many reasons to celebrate. We had nearly 2,000 students take exams for IB, and we had 50 students earn the prestigious full IB diploma. For those unfamiliar, earning a full IB diploma can have you earn up to 28 college credits, which is an incredible economic and advantage for our students. While we celebrated all these successes, we also had some troubling statistic. Among our students enrolled in the full IB program, only 6% of all IB diploma earners in 2024 were African American boys. Please note that African American boys make up 25% of the City College student population. This stark disparity sparked a sense of urgency and inspired action. Around this time, I learned about the pilot mentoring initiative that city schools wanted to introduce at Baltimore City College. Recognizing this potential, I envisioned leveraging the program to support our African American seniors in the full IB program. Dr. Sophia, Principal Harcum, and Ms. Flowers from Johns Hopkins University and we collaborated, strategically planned to bring this vision to life. We discussed ways to connect Johns Hopkins University students with City College IB Boys of Colors as mentors. Through these discussions, we identified the critical need for an orientation, which Dr. Sophia and her team facilitate for our students in a safe and helpful and impactful way. Dr. Sophia and her team designed this very effective mentor training program. One of the key breakthroughs came when Sierra Flowers and Dr. Sophia uncovered a critical financial opportunity. Mentors can be hired through the Federal Work Study Program. This program will cover 90% of the mentor's wages, leaving only 10% to be paid by the school. This process was remarkably efficient. Just a two-page job posting and a Federal Work Study contract that could be completed in under 20 minutes. With the program framework in place, my role was to hire, manage, mentor, monitor, and encourage all the mentors, right? As well as coordinate mentorship sessions with the mentees. Scheduling sessions were seamless because we have an advisory block in high school. So students would just use that advisory block to meet with their mentor bi-weekly. And we also use an app called All Timely, so students can just receive the notification via their phone. This program, from my eyes, have been a game changer. Not only does it address academic achievement, but it also supports the whole child, fostering a sense of belonging, confidence, and purpose. Importantly, it's scalable. This model can be implemented in advisory periods all across the district or as an intervention prevention strategy across all Baltimore City public schools, making it both impactful and affordable. Most importantly, this program has already made a tangible difference in the lives of our Black boys at City. So now I'm going to hand it over to Travis, who's going to talk about the impact that it had on him.
Hello. Can you see me?
Yes, you're coming through.
Thank you. All right. So just reiterate, my name is Travis Pennington. I'm a 12th grader at Baltimore City College, who's in the Johns Hopkins mentoring program. And today I just want to share how mentorship has impacted my life in ways I didn't expect, but ultimately benefited from. So it's often said that mentorship is a two-way street, where the mentor shares their experience and the mentee gains valuable guidance. But to me, mentorship has been a very constructive experience and a reminder that I'm not alone in my journey. So let me start by saying that this program has been a stress reliever for one. Life, whether it's school, work, or just trying to plan ahead, can feel pretty overwhelming. And having a mentor gave me someone to turn to who's done it before. And if nothing else, it helped take some of the weight off my shoulders and give me the reassurance that the challenges I face are not insurmountable and the confidence to keep going. Mentorship has also been good for my personal enjoyment. A lot of my life revolves around academics or work, and I often feel like everything serves some type of goal or expectation or purpose. But mentorship allowed me to relax for a little bit, gave me the chance to connect with someone closer to my own age in a non-academic, non-work setting. And those conversations were real, and no matter the topic, really, it reminded me of the simple joy of talking to someone about my day. Furthermore, mentorship has offered me valuable perspective, especially when it comes to college and life beyond it. My mentor, Gio, shared what college and life outside of it can look like, including the ups and downs and lessons she learned along the way. Knowledge you can't get from someone trying to sell you an application. It's insight that gave me clarity and helped me shape my expectations for the future. It also gave me some confidence that I'll be okay, that even when things get tough and doubt starts creeping in, it'll be fine. At City College, is an unfortunately common trend that young men start to feel like giving up when we face something challenging. Said reality presents to us the notion that we can't do it, and that mentality undermines the will to try. We often feel weak for asking for help and embarrassed for not having what it takes to push through on our own. But mentorship emphasized to me that it's okay to ask for help and that there are limits to what one person can accomplish on their own. And one final thing I'd like to highlight that Gio helped make clear to me is that success has no singular definition. I'd like to think that the Ivy Leagues are great and you should go to one if you get in and can afford it, but they aren't and have never been the only option. No matter how prestigious of a school you go to, the true value of that kind of opportunity depends on what you choose to do with it, because at the end of the day, a degree is a piece of paper that you can get no matter where you go. So overall, I would say that this mentoring program was definitely worth it, at least for me. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Principal AP. We're caring for time. We are prepared to be extremely brief. We could talk for a long time, but what we want to know is how can y'all help us? How can the board help us recruit to engage more folks in the community? Because we want to widen the table of mentoring programs and we want to recruit mentors. We're talking about 78,000, depending on what the number is in the year that we're talking about, that can benefit in the range of diverse needs in our school community. This is just one example, near to peer, a very cost-effective model, but we have so many different options. So thank you for your time today. I'll put my little slide deck back up so you can see the QR code.
Well, I want to thank you, Sophia, for the presentation today. I want to thank you for the approach and for a student coming on. You represented extremely well. This work is invaluable. I want to open up the floor for my fellow commissioners for their questions and comments, and I will follow.
I do have a question. Much of what I see in mentoring and in what you just outlined in the work that you're doing is this bridge to then opportunity that comes next, right? That having that opportunity to connect with somebody that's either a near peer that has recently gone through it or that is more established, perhaps. Those are so valuable. And the challenge that I can imagine, but I want to understand from you all, like what is the limiting factor on the opportunities here? Like, how many of our students have meaningful mentorship as an overall percentage? I can imagine that one of the challenges of mentorship generally is doing it at scale, to where, it's much of the school infrastructure is set up to provide opportunities for all students. And mentorship has a more, there's a matching process or some other aspects that are more linear. I'm curious where you would identify some of the barriers to participation, and what would you, if anything, recommend that could be done to increase the benefits of what the good work that you're doing?
So we like to look at them as opportunities. So the opportunities that we see solving for are how can we scale supporting our school staff and understanding. So we ground our work in the developmental relationships framework, which is based out of Series Institute, Search Institute, sorry. And part of that is bringing that to scale during our professional learning, being able to educate more people around that so that we can have more caring adults. We frame a lot of our work around webs of support, which is out of the Series Institute. That framework believes in this concept of every young person has these webs around them. And so it's not just maybe the formal or the informal mentor, but it's the teacher, it's the principal, it's the staff member, and what does it look like for everyone to have those habits of mind around mentoring? And so we see this opportunity to be able to build out what that looks like to support our staff, and then as internal consultants working in partnership with our colleagues across the different departments, they are knee deep in a lot of the work, and so we can kind of sit alongside them and say, okay, what is it that you need? Deployment in this particular a particular area, you have a specific partner that you know works well for you. Well, we have the expertise to be able to guide you around what type of partnership would be feasible to meet those outcomes. So those are some of the ways that we've been looking at working to solve. It really comes down to this alignment around mentoring as a whole system for all of the components to work and be interconnected and work in concert together. So we're just in this moment where we know that there are competing priorities, but we understand that mentoring can lift all of the work of our priorities when we have systemic alignment around kind of the operational pieces of it. It's just can't go fast enough. But more mentoring programs. In many cases in the state of Maryland and even nationally, there's funding and resources, and some of our partners that we're growing into new partnerships with, they are bringing resources. So there's a few different ways to tackle it, but the key for us is that it's sustainable and that it's scalable. So we find ourselves in this season of piloting and just making sure it's a right fit for city schools. We do not want something to just kind of explode and it not fit in a way that can be sustainable for our young people.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And one thing you referenced certainly are some of the not requirements, but there are requirements around the youth apprenticeships. And I'm curious to what degree the work that you are doing is dovetailing with some of the Blueprint for Maryland Education's requirements. And I guess, I mean, there's always that, youth apprenticeship or industry certification, but I certainly see the tremendous value of that apprenticeship experience. And I'm curious how you all are interacting with them.
All of our work is really to support and lift the work of our colleagues. So again, working as internal consultants and those who are experts in it coming alongside them and saying, do you need us to help onboard the partners that will be leading the apprenticeship work? Do you need mentors to support the apprenticeship work? Like, what is the strategy and tactic that your team has? And then we work in partnership to define and build out what that would look like. So on our end, it's really being able to have enough mentors, enough opportunities to pair them together, and viable mentoring program partners that are already connected in district and ready to hit the ground running, so that then we can turn to folks like the apprenticeship work and say, okay, what are your needs? How can we lift this work with you? Bam, here are, what do you need? 5,000 mentors. That's our goal this year. 5,000 mentors, here they are. So for us, it's really spreading the word, getting our city alive around it, amidst all of the competing priorities, so that people know that it doesn't take that much time, because there are different types of fit opportunities. So maybe you come during your lunchtime, or maybe you are every other week or weekly. It just really depends on what the need. And so getting visibility and communication around what mentoring opportunities are available is a part of the lift that we're having right now.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Commissioner. Commissioner Rooks. Okay, hearing nothing. I have a couple of questions, but I'll start with this, and I'll try to make it short. This is an amazing endeavor that has been needed for some time. We know that the data suggests in every way that a child who is connected with a mentor is more likely to be successful in every phase of life, academically and outside. My questions are around sustainability.
Yep.
This is something that we have to do, and I appreciate you taking the approach of not only the lift, but more importantly, coming to the board saying, how can you help us make this a reality for all of our students? So I'm gonna personally take that on to be able to support.
Thank you.
So my questions, I'll just go with two. There are many agencies that do mentoring services in the district already, and you highlighted quite a few. Though there are also some state agencies that we interact with as well, that provide opportunities for mentorship. My interest is around how do we develop, or do we have a system to develop the administrative component that will come with serving all of our students in the back end work? How will we navigate that, and how can we as a board support that there is a system? What do we need to be able to sustain this work? And when we look at these same programs that are actively doing work and that are working in a positive way, how do we increase their capacity to impact more students? So one of the things that our committee, we hear pretty often, is that there are agencies that are doing work and they have hit the maximum amount
Right.
of the funds that they can receive, not having a contract.
Mhm.
And because of that, we'll have agencies that may have already met that mark. And I want to also praise the creative way that you found the funds to be able to do this. But if we have an agency like I Am Mentor, who may not have the ability to receive any more funds, even if it's only $10
Mhm.
from the district, are we having conversations to be able to mitigate that concern? So I know that was a lot, but hopefully you can
No,
jump into some.
no, that is that's what I lose sleep over, trying to ensure that it's sustainable and scalable and get to a place where we have significant impact, the impact that I know can happen. And so for us, it is in terms of the operations, we have components of the operations. So when we started designing and building the infrastructure, we built it to be nimble and agile so that it could adjust to policy, politics, and people. And so we're in a unique position now that at the board level and through, when we align around how we want to pivot, we can pivot because we have components of it. We just need a little window of time to say, okay, now we're not going to use that. That way, we're going to use it a little bit different. But we built things to a reasonable place where we're able to be agile and pivot. In terms of creating and widening the table of access, we are happy to come to the conversation as thought partners around ways to look at what does that look like to be equitable around resources and how, and I say to our partners all the time that there's plenty of room at the table. Our goal is to help our partners grow in their trajectory so they are right fit and they're ready to partner with our schools and with our young people. And so it's dual thing happening at the same time. But we're happy to come to the table. If y'all lead, we will lead as well. But we are happy to work in community around what does it look like to strategically align our resources as a community. So.
No, thank you for that. I think that my next question will be just around the onboarding process and retention.
Yep.
So, what are we doing to make sure that as we are developing this plan, because it's early on, I think it's a great time to kind of get this right.
Right.
What are we doing what does that onboarding process look like for us as a district? And what steps are we taking with regards to retaining these individuals? Because when you develop a relationship as a young person or any person with someone who is a mentor, it's also extremely tough and sometimes traumatic in losing that person. So taking that into consideration, what is our plan with regards to retention?
So two things with regard to the onboarding. We recently piloted asynchronous onboarding. What we learned was we want to do in person, but that's challenging. And so we recently piloted our asynchronous approach. So that is we're getting the kinks out with what that looks like. And with regard to retention, we've found the weight of retention has been held best with our partners right now. We do see a vision where we would like to have as a district be able to have a cycle of which we're able to connect mentors to opportunities. We are just starting to scratch the surface of that. That 985, I forget the exact number, represents the work of our partners majority. And so we're in this place where we're now starting to shift. This year represents the first year where we said, okay, 5,000, that's a crazy number. Everyone looked at us crazy, but we're like, what are we aiming for if we're not going to aim big? And so we plan to, we're aiming for 5,000 mentors. And a part of that internally is to really test the system and to make adjustments around how are we onboarding, how are we, once the folks are registered and onboarded to mentoring, and then we pair them to an opportunity, getting our program partners to share opportunities in our Pi Portal system, being able to leverage that in a way where we connect folks. And then I mentioned about site-based mentoring coordinators, which is something that's held at the school level. If we can increase that, that allows us to have that individual that is site-based that's being able to be in community. Our approach has been a hub strategy. If you imagine, let's say we're at Gwynns Falls Elementary, I'm a mentor, and then maybe I decided to, not necessarily Douglas now, but Douglas when it will be, decided to mentor there as well. And maybe I choose to end my mentoring at Gwynns Falls because I don't necessarily want to do that anymore. But now I have the opportunity to mentor at Douglas. I'm saying that because imagine I work at Mondawmin. And so what does that look like of that cycle, that trajectory of a mentor's life cycle? Mentoring, because we're human too. So just kind of looking at a few different things around that in terms of retention, because then that would allow someone to, when we step inside of the closure component of mentoring, because that's a part of the work of mentoring, closure is important. When we shift out of closure, maybe we can reintroduce them to another opportunity, and maybe the opportunity is a different type, a different time commitment, a different type of student community, high school versus elementary. And so we've been kind of looking at that as an approach to keep folks engaged. We know people want to help, but people can't always help with the same amount of time. Sometimes I can do 10 hours a month, and sometimes I have to reduce it to 2 hours. So just,
Understood.
yeah.
Now, I appreciate it. I think that, and for my fellow commissioners, this is a challenge to us. And I think in this case, we have to rise to the occasion and support
Okay.
this effort. So we look forward to continued conversation and partnership because this is something that is important to us. I think we took as much time today because this has to happen. So that commitment is being made now. Uh, I will also say that there are some individuals who are on our meeting today from the community. So with that commitment, maybe some of those individuals were here with us at the beginning. Maybe some of those individuals weren't. But can you introduce more, restate your name, and how community members who are interested in gaining more information, can you provide that now?
Yes. So mentoring and adult relationships is the name of the team. We lead the student mentoring work for the district. I am Dr. Sophia Rudisol Holmes. Folks call me Dr. Rudy or Sophia. And the scan QR code, if you want to learn more about mentoring, if you can still see the screen, I think you can. Just scan that to either learn how to become a partner, or if you want to be a mentor, or if you have questions, you can email us. We are super excited to widen and broaden in an equitable way the opportunity that we know there's plenty of room at the table. We just have to be patient with each other and work in partnership.
Let's go, Mar. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to move on, commissioners, to today's presentation around student transition and the student transition ambassador update.
Yes, thank you, commissioners. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can't see it and if you
Sure.
can't hear me. Can you see it and hear me?
We can hear you and we can see it. Good
All
afternoon.
right. Well, Thank you. Thank you. So, good afternoon. Thank you, commissioners. My name is Eric Banzak. I'm the director of school culture and climate under the Wholeness Department. And like the commissioner said, I'm going to talk a little about our student transition ambassador program that we're currently implementing this year. Just a quick overview of it. What you're going to hear today is you're going to hear our student Wholeness vision and how we connect the program back to our vision. A little bit of a history of how the program came to be. A little bit of a process and data, and then supports to students, staff, and families, and then a growth analysis, and then question and answers. So for our student wholeness vision, as you see it written here, it states that city school students are inspired to pursue their passion and develop their potential when schools provide engaging, safe, and supportive environments that foster well-being and meet academic, social, emotional, and physical needs. So one of the things that when we were looking at creating this program, we wanted to make sure that when our ambassadors support transitions from one school to another school, that they keep this vision in mind. So when they're working with the students and families, that they are supporting and providing engaging, safe, and supportive environments that foster well-being and meet academic, social, emotional, and physical needs. Some of the historical content, a work group was established in response to identified need for students experiencing severe trauma who require additional hands-on supports during the transfer process. So that group looked at a supportive response and looked at to develop and document effective processes for providing case management, but also utilize a case management model to ensure students who meet specific criteria are supported through the initial transfer process and successful integration into the new school's community. So what we wanted to do was provide high quality support from leaving in one school, going to another school. But along with that, we knew that with the student there would be concerns, questions, but also we knew we had to provide support to families because families also are going to have questions and concerns with the transfer. So we wanted to make sure we were that bridge to serve the connection between school and home and communication. And then we also wanted to connect family to any necessary resources. We experience a lot of concerns or problems, and we have to find the necessary resources for families to help break down the walls. And then we wanted to support families through the transition process because we know it's not only the student transitioning, we know it's the family as well transitioning to a new community. So within that work group, we created 6 stages that the student will go through the process. And the first stage was like a case review. Second is STA referral. Third is family connection. Fourth is STA school connection. Fifth is the STA student formal check-ins. And sixth is the case progress review and closeout. And as you see here to the left, these are our ambassadors who currently work with our department. We have 3 ambassadors. We have Miss Amani Ramones, Mr. Hubbard, and Mr. Lewis. To get a little deep into the STA process, our case review. So looking at our case review, we work closely with the Enrollment Choice and Transfer Office here at Central. And through the administrative review team meetings and the safety transfer team meetings, when a student is approved to transfer, that student and his criteria are sent to our team, where we take the criteria and we match that criteria to a rubric that we created. And if they do meet that rubric, they move on to the second stage, which would be the STA referral process. And this is where we look at all the data that the student has that we could see through our Infinite Campus, through our ECT, our Enrollment Choice and Transfer. We might reach out to our attendance office, but we try to gather as much information as possible on that student because we know it starts here at the initial stage of when the student is going to start to transition. Based off of the data, we then look at which ambassador would be the correct ambassador to work with that student. And once we assign the ambassador, then it goes on to our third stage, which is the family connections. But before it gets to the family connections, our ambassadors take the data that we give them and they start looking at the data and they start to look at to see if there's any connections, any trends, just things that they can know to start familiarizing themselves so they could add to their caseload, and they could start looking at to see how can they start building a relationship and making that connection with the student and family. So when they do get to the family connection, this is where They make the initial contact with the family. They introduce themselves. They explain the process. They explain how they're going to support through the process and how long the process will be. And they try to answer any questions, concerns they may have. They also try to get in contact with the student. Maybe the student is there, or maybe they contact the student separately. But when they do what's called an intake process. And they ask students questions, they ask the parent questions. But again, what they're doing is trying to get as much information to build that connection and to see what barriers are in place so they could address the barriers and the student will have a successful transition. Also, at this time, when they're working with the families, they like to schedule a meeting to meet with the school. So this is where they try to get a couple dates on the calendar so that families are free so they could set up a meeting because we don't want the student to miss school. We want the student to be, in school ASAP when they do make the transfer. So we work on getting times that the student can meet with the school. From there, they go to the fourth stage, which would be the school connection. And this is where the ambassador reaches out, just like they do with the family. They reach out to the school, they get in contact with the administrator, they work with the administrator and the team, and they share the information that they have on the student. It might be that the student is coming with an IEP or a 504, what accommodations, but they share what information they have and answer any questions and concerns the principal may have. From there, they set up an initial meeting to meet with the parent, guardian, and student, but also they work with the school to identify a mentor, like we just heard. So this way, there could be sustainability at the school because as much as we would love to be with the student, 24 hours out of the day, we know we can't. So we want to build sustainability. We want to have somebody at the school that the student can trust along with the ambassador. So when this initial meeting happens, this is where I say the magic or the restorative happens because this gives the opportunity for the parents to meet the administration and be able to answer or ask any questions and concerns they have. They get to see the building, take a tour of the building. This is vice versa with the administration. This is where the administration could share their mission and vision of the school. But also, we've had principals give the students during the meeting T-shirts and sweatshirts, swag. So you see the students' eyes light up when they receive that. But that's just the start of a successful transition that they already feel that they're part of the community at the school. Another powerful thing that happens during these meetings is a goal setting. And this is where the student gets to connect with the mentor, but also create goals because we want the student to feel valued and we want the student to have something to work towards too as well through this process. So they create goals and the goals could be anything from improve my grades, improve my math, could be, improve my attendance, make friends, anything, but just to create goals so the student has something to work towards. From the school connection, they go on to the fifth stage, which would be the formal check-ins. And then this is where the case management model takes effect. And this is where our STAs check in with the students. Roughly, we say every 15 days. It's every two weeks, and up to 90 days. And this is where they check in with the student and they check in with the goals. They see how things are going. They ask questions every time they do a formal check-in. They ask questions like, how are you feeling today? Have you made friends? Do you feel that your teacher feels you valued? Just how overall the experience is going. But not only do they check in with the student at that time, they check in with the mentor, they check in with the admin, and they check in with the family. That's the most important part because sometimes the student might tell us something, but tell the parent something different. And again, we check in and we collect this data because we want to make sure that we're reviewing the data so we could see trends from the period of time that we check in. So it might be that we see their academic grades are sliding a little bit. So we can try to, figure out what's going on. What resources do we need to, set in place? Is it, working with a tutoring a company? Is it finding resources for the parents after school? But also, with these check-ins, between these check-ins, our ambassadors are working with our board certified behavior analyst, person who also has a psychology degree, and checking in and with them and just really, presenting details of if something is happening, challenges, barriers. So we work as a team to see how we could really break these barriers down to make sure that we have a successful transition. And our goal is to make sure that they have a community now that they feel part of and are wanted. And then we go on to our last stage, which would be the STA closeout. And this is where all stakeholders are involved. We bring everybody to the table, anybody who has worked with the child and has supported the child. We bring the parents and guardians to the table. But this is where we create a sustainability plan. After 90 days, if the team feels that the student is ready and they feel that the sustainability plan is set and is in place and resources are there, this is when our SDAs could, step back and walk away. Now, I say that, but last year we were in our pilot and we did have a principal reach out in the beginning of the year because we did step away from one student and he did call us up and he asked if our SDA or our ambassador could come back, just kind of give a refresher, just kind of like give a jump start because the student started going down the wrong road again. So even though we do step away, we're always there. We build a great connection with our students that we work with. And, so we always have a home for them. Going into a little bit of the data, this is a student transition ambassador case year over year. So last year, like I mentioned, it was our pilot year. We worked with 46 students. We worked with 8 administrative transfers, 33 safety transfers, and 5 multiple suspensions. And this year, this data is as of 110, but currently as of yesterday, 122, we are currently working with 52 students. And that's 9 carryover students, 42 safety transfer students, and 1 administrative student. This slide just shows our grade band that we work with. Currently, we're working with all grade bands except for 12th grade. We're working with kindergarten all the way up through 11th. Slide, this is schools with safety transfers. So another thing within the process that the program we were developing, one of the things we wanted to look at is what other areas that the data shows us of how we could support through the Wholeness office or the Whole Child office or even other offices within Central. And we looking at schools that have safety transfers and what can we do and how we could support them. So for instance, for this list right here, we were able to do 9 climate walks, go in, support the school on the climate domains and be able to provide follow-up and feedback to administration. Some of these schools work with outside partners and some of these schools receive supports for student wholeness specialists. So this is a little success story of one of our students that we worked with in our pilot last year. She was a sophomore freshman student at Reginald F. Lewis. She came to Reginald after having issues with several students in her previous school. After meeting with her, we learned that some of those students had transferred to Reginald as well. But we were able to connect with the appropriate school staff to avoid any confrontation that might have landed her in another school, or in another school. And she's transitioned to Reginald, has been without incidents thus far, and she now has an additional advocate to ensure it stays that way. So with this case, at first she was reluctant. She had the walls up. She, it was very tough for our ambassador to really make a connection. We were working with the family, and we found a great mentor at the school to work with her, and it took us a while, but once we were able to break those barriers and getting her to open up, she was then revealed that there was some students at the school that she knew that if she saw them, she would get in trouble. She didn't want to transfer again. She really liked Reginald F. Lewis. She, was just afraid that if she did run into these students, that she would get into trouble and she would transfer. So we were able to work with the mentor, work with the school, and put things in place to be able to support her to be successful. And as you see here, I'll start with her absences. At a previous school, she did have significant absences here through halfway through the school year. But then transferring to Reginald F. Lewis, you could see she still did have some absences, but we were able to break that trend, and she started to come to school. And that's where I focus on her English grade. That we could see in her fourth quarter, we started to see some growth. And based off our data, we had that she started to feel comfortable. She started to feel like the school supported her. She felt like her teachers supported her. So it just shows that, like, we don't give up, and even though they might put those barriers up, what are the things we could do to break down those walls? This is some principal testimony. So, just getting, talking with our principals, one of the things we could always do is learn is like what we could do better. How can we support, and hear from our principals' perspective. And, the one here on the left, it states it was very powerful to meet with the families ahead of time, gave me a chance to meet with the parent and the student before they came to my building. All principals should have an initial meeting when there's a transfer. And this principal was very excited because he was hesitant at first because, you hear stories and you hear things of what students have done. But after he got to meet the student and meet the parents, he was excited for them to come to his building. This other one in the middle, that's this testimony is this has been a wonderful support provided by the district office. In fact, I'm hoping this is something that I could offer more of my students. And, we've got a lot of these testimonies where principals are very appreciative of our ambassadors coming into the building. They, when they're in the building, they respect the building, but then they also support the principal and they support the admin team, but they also support the families as well. And then the last one here is very appreciative to know that with this eighth student, he is not in this alone. He is very excited about the ongoing support and collaboration from our office and wishes he had the same level of support with the first 8 students who transferred in during this school year. Some supports to students, staff, and families. So these are just some of the things. This just that touches the tip of the iceberg of the supports that our ambassadors provide to our students, staff, and families. But all STAs provide a variety of supports to students based on the individual student's needs. All student, family, and schools receive support that include goal setting, consistent check-ins, ongoing assessments of the transition process and experience. With crisis response and planning, they have connected students to mental health services. They have attended student-centered school level meetings like IEP meetings, 504 meetings. We even had one of our ambassadors attend a suspension hearing meeting here. The parent reached out, really wanted the ambassador, trusted the ambassador, wanted them to attend. So we worked with the suspension office and worked with the person who was had the suspension case, and we were able to then, attend a meeting with them, just provide that support. Connection to resources. Our ambassadors are always looking for different ways and looking for more resources, right? Because we never know what's going to come. We never know what barrier is going to be there that a student might say the reason they're having trouble. But one of the things we do is we do resource mapping. That's the first thing what we do is when we work with the school, we figure out what are all the resources that are in the building. So that way we have a list that we could show or have in our back pocket that when an issue arises, we're able to support. Mediation, we've done mediation for schools. We've done modeling restorative conversations, and we've even assisted with public transportation. A lot of our students, when they do transfer, they're not as close as home as their previous school. So how do we support with transportation? Some students don't know how to get a bus pass or need to know the bus route. So we support down to that level. And then the last here is just standard check-ins. We assist with connecting families with the community school coordinator at the school. This is a big one. They're a wealth of information and have a wealth of resources for us. So that's always a key. We've been partnering with them. And then strategic planning for student success, and then goal setting. So this is our growth analysis. One of the things is our pilot, we had 46 students, and, we put it in here that we wanted to at least, work with 100 plus students, this year, and next year double. We want to keep doubling. We know that, when we take on a student, it's important. It's important work, and the students value it, the parents value it, and so we would love to touch every student, but our goal right now is to do a minimum of 100, but a lot more. So So for that, I thank you, and questions and answers.
Thank you. Just want to highlight this is very tough work. So I want to thank you for that. I want to open the floor to my fellow commissioners. We're going to start with Commissioner Harrington. I see you have your hand, and we're going to go to Commissioner Coy. If we could, just for the sake of time, keep our questions to one question. And if you have any others, please present them and we can receive them back in writing. Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Sure. Thank you so much for the presentation. Well, hello, Eric. How are you? It's been a while.
I'm good.
It's
How are
to
you
see
doing? Yeah, good to see you.
I'm good. This is great work and it's important work. I'm curious on the front end, and maybe I missed this part of your presentation, around the restorative practice that happens before a student leaves the school. So you talked about in the student testimony, like some of those students followed or went to Reginald F. Lewis along with it. And it just brought to my mind that the two things that I feel like are important to address are, one is restoring relationships if you can before leaving the school, but also, or repairing the relationships, but also from a climate perspective, making sure that this is not a systemic issue with maybe a leader or the climate in the building. And so I love to hear about those climate walks and the deeper work that's being done to make special transfers less of a necessity.
Mm-hmm. So at your first question, you broke up. Can you repeat your first question again? Because I want to be able to answer that first, but you broke up and I missed half of it. Sorry.
Oh, that and my son is participating in our meeting today. Uh, uh, just what type of restorative or repair efforts are being made before the student leaves the school? You talked about how when a student transitions, you meet with the principal and help that family transition into the building. But in terms of how they leave their former building, I think that that's an important part of the restorative process too. So what is happening there to repair or restore relationships before that departure, that safety transfer happens?
Mm-hmm. So with that, so that was something that we initiated this year. We asked a couple questions of, like, how do they feel? We asked the parents, like, how do you feel about your previous school? How do you feel about administration? Because we wanted to gauge that to see if we could repair harm. And then also with the student leaving, if there was, just like that student I talked about, if there was a group of students they got into a fight with, is there a possibility that we could repair harm and bring them together with that? So we do ask those questions to see if we could put those in place to repair the harm. But if, like at that situation with Reginald F. Lewis, when the other students did come over and transfer over later, that was something that we had to work with to make sure that we could repair harm and use restorative there, because we don't want issues, and we don't want kids leaving. We want kids to have a community. We don't want them to transfer. We want them to stay at the school. And then for your second question, with the climate work and just going in and looking at that, one of the things we do is we look at a variety of things of the 4 domains, and looking at, based off those domains, how can we support in different indicators for each domain? So like one is like the school-wide norms and routines, and looking at, if you do have school-wide norms and routines, posted throughout the building, to make sure we do see it. Because if you say you do have it, you should see it. So it's simple things as that, or it dives down deeper into, working with a school that, they want to focus on, going more of a restorative approach. So how do we then bring restorative into the school and, support the staff, train the staff, but also train the administration and start shifting the mindset to start, working on, building those relationships and connections.
Thank you. Commissioner Coy.
Yes, no, thank you. If you go back one slide, I was listening for and looking, and this is, I think, the slide that was the closest to it, but trying to understand what is the scale of the need that exists. So you speak about some of the desire to increase to as many as 200 or 200 more with 5 staff positions. But if you look at the safety transfer requests, for example, that exist, how does this compare to that? And as you look at the staffing capacity, are these numbers giving a good indication now of how many staff are needed for how many transfers?
Mm-hmm. So we're working with a group of those safety transfers that have come in through the ECT office or the Enrollment Choice and Transfer office. And, looking at, the support that is provided, we want to make sure that we have quality support, but we also want to make sure that we hit the numbers as well. And I think, Ms. Goodwin, I think you want to jump in. Do you want to jump in on that one?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Goodwin, and I am the Executive Director for Whole Child Services and Supports. Thank you, Eric, for pulling me in. I appreciate that. That was a great question, and we are definitely looking at what the need is. So we work closely with ECT to see how many safety to see how many safety transfers are coming through. And at the rate that we're going now, we notice that you know how you set a goal, but until it actually happens, like you really don't know what the need is. So we are making sure that we're monitoring the data. We're looking at the need. We see that the numbers for our safety transfers have increased this year from last year. So we set our goal based on last year, but now we know we need to do some adjustments because we need to make sure that we're able to keep up with the need of the district as the safety transfers come in. We had never, it was never our plan to be able to do every single one of them. It was the most challenging ones. But as the principals are expressing the need for us to come in and support, we're realizing that we're going to have to address more of the cases that come in. And the rubric that we have, we're going to have to probably be a little more flexible because every student that comes through deserves to be supported. So that's why we're working really closely, and we will work even closer with our mentoring team. So I'm glad Dr. Rudisill had a chance to present with us because now we are working to see how can we ensure that we are getting not just the transfer and the student transition ambassadors that we have, but getting those mentors in place so that the students can still meet with success and we can be able to address the needs of all the students. I heard the number that Dr. Rudisill put out there for the number of mentors that they are looking to have for this year. And that just makes my heart smile because we definitely need to make sure that we get the mentors aligned with our students so that it's not just the transition ambassadors, but it is a district-wide effort to ensure all of the students are getting the assistance that's needed. I hope that answered your question.
It did in part. I certainly would appreciate maybe a follow-up that shows the number of requests that exist,
okay,
and then the number that meet the requirement in the rubric but are not being serviced.
Gotcha.
That'd be helpful to understand. And that's just on the request side. I don't know to what degree there are some that are not making even a formal request, but there might be needs. But I would appreciate seeing those numbers. Thank you for the work. This is obviously really important, as Chair Mohammed had referenced.
Thank you, and we will have that information for you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Rooks. Hearing nothing, I will have my questions. You can respond to them to the board in writing. However, I do have one slide that I want to get some clarification on. If we can go back to slide number 10, I believe, where we highlighted the schools.
Mm-hmm.
Those schools that we're highlighting, those are transfers that are going to those particular schools, or are those individuals or students being transferred from those schools?
Those are individuals being transferred from their schools.
Okay, so what I want to be able to understand is when a student is being transferred from a school, what schools are we using to transfer them to? My concern is that I want to assure that when we're transferring our kids, particularly around safety concerns, that we're not overwhelming particular school communities and particular leaders. And I would like to understand from a uh, a high school level and a middle school level, get a clear picture on that. Uh, uh, Chief, I covered. I see your hands raised. Feel free.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that question is from my team, so I want to just jump in and say that we, of course, manage both admin transfers, which are requested by the school, and safety transfers requested by the student and the parent. And we have for this could be anywhere from K all the way through 12, right? And so for the elementary and middle school programs, it's more about proximity to where you are located and what schools have space and what has availability. And we do an analysis. Brandon Tillman and I and some members of our team walk schools when principals say we're crowded or with this or whatever, and we make sure we make deliberate decisions about where we can place schools, and we will offer temporary moratoriums to those schools who have an over enrollment or a concern about the number of kids that they have. But I will go and physically see it, or Brandon or someone on the team. When it comes to high school, it's a little bit different of a conversation because we have to go where there's space. And I hear you on not overwhelming schools, so we pay attention very carefully to how many IEP students have been transferred or who goes transferred where. But when you don't get kids transferring into City and Poly, they're full, right? We have to go where there is space when we have a transfer. So we do a careful analysis of what's happening with that student, what prior things have happened with them, and then make an assignment with the family to understand what's best for that student. So that's how that process happens. And we're, when we do our ECT presentation, we're happy to share more about that, but that's how we manage that process.
Yeah, I appreciate the insight. I'll add that part of the concern, and we would still like to definitely see that data. Part of that concern is around resources for those schools. That when we have schools that we are using, we want to make sure that resources that we have, similar to what we discussed around the mentoring program, that there is collaboration around our resources to make sure that the school community as a whole is receiving an increased level of support. And just the data around what students are going where is going to help us start to digest and start to have that conversation moving forward. I appreciate the intentionality that you guys have and use in walking the schools and making sure that we are identifying the best community for our students. So want to highlight and appreciate the work that's being done there. In in writing, if you can get back to us, Eric, around particularly, I think what Commissioner Slater Harrington and Commissioner Coy identified in a little bit more detail, it will be helpful because we understand that there's a high need, and we want to have an idea of what we're doing and if we have the capacity to grow, because this is a lot of work on a small team. And we want to be very, very aware and highlight the level of work that you guys have. I think along with that, uh, staffing level changes. Um, do we have an idea of if there's a particular school that received multiple, uh, let's say, transitions, did they have to increase staffing levels and maybe hall monitor support and anything like that? So if we can get some insight into that, it'll be extremely helpful moving forward. I want to thank you guys for the work, as this is heavy work, and these questions are to help support the work and the impact that you guys are already having. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
All right, we are going to move into today's compliance report. We are reviewing JBA, a non-discrimination policy. Looking forward to hearing our work.
Hi, Commissioner Josh Sivan, Chief Legal Officer, and I'm joined here by Katia Stokes, who is our Director for Wholeness. Katia, are you on?
Yes, I am on. Good evening, everyone.
So this work is an important collaboration between the Wholeness Office and the Fair Practices Office, which is part of my office. And really, we link that together so we have a seamless connection between our bullying work and then the subset of bullying, harassment, and intimidation that also is bullying, harassment, and intimidation based on race or gender or sex or the like. So the report starts out and would love to turn it over to Ms. Stokes to talk a little bit about our bullying work and our bullying data. And I think emphasizing the proactive work for the committee will be important in this presentation.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. I think it's very interesting that this particular presentation dovetails off of the two presentations that we just heard, one about mentoring and then one about the very important work around STA. I wanted to start us there and situate us in that because before we dive into the numbers, I wanted us to take a moment to reflect on the human side of the data that we're about to discuss. And sort of those two presentations really spoke to the human side of the work that we do. And they also speak to sort of the reasons why we need to have programming such as this and the proactive programming that we have available across the district and across different offices to help to address what our students may experience with bullying. Because behind every statistic on bullying, there is a student or family or a community that is impacted. So this is not just about the data on paper. These are real experiences that shape the lives of our children and our young people. So I want us to also keep in mind that this is not just about the numbers too, but it's also about understanding the experience, the context, and the broader effects of what's happening in our school communities. So let's look at where we stand, how we've made progress, and importantly, where there's still work to be done. These insights will help guide our efforts moving forward, ensuring that we're not just addressing numbers, but we're also addressing the people behind them. For this report, it also gives us a collective pause to reflect on how we can act on what we have learned from our data from last school year, ensuring that we continue to create and foster a safe, supportive environment for all our students. So for last school year, 23-24, our total number of bullying reports that were received were 625. Within those bullying reports that were received, there were, I'm sorry, not 625, that's the wrong number, 825. From those bullying reports, there were 194 suspensions that were documented within our system. I just want to make sure that I am reiterating that when I'm speaking about the bullying reports, these are the number of reports that were filed, not necessarily indicating that these were the number of reports that were indicated that bullying actually occurred, but these are the number of instances that have been reported to make us aware. So when we pause and think about the why and what that may mean, we often think about it in like four reasons, four ways, or four things factors that could be contributing to our numbers. If you look at the report, the 825 reports for school year 23-24 was an increase from our previous year of reports filed, which were 781. So the first thing we think about it is we have really done a lot of robust efforts to really ensure that we're creating a culture where our students and families feel comfortable with reporting. So we've done a lot of work to make sure that our families know how to report. That has looked like making sure all of our schools have received posters with the QR code that would easily take them to the online reporting form. And it also has looked like making sure that we have the 8.5 by 11 one pages within our schools. One thing that we really did within the past 2 years that I really think was a good thing was we didn't just distribute the posters within our schools, because our students are in multiple places in the communities, churches or recreation centers. So we did take some initiative to make sure that we were distributing not just in schools, but in community areas as well. I would also note that our numbers really align with the national trends when we think about bullying. It is not just an increase in reports here that we're experiencing in Baltimore City, but it is also occurring in other districts. One of the things we look at is just the profound impact on social emotional health of our students and our peer-to-peer interactions. What we know is that mental health struggles often contribute to behaviors like bullying, and it often is used as a way to cope with what they're experiencing when I don't have real coping strategies or how to develop peer-to-peer relationships. The last thing I would really say is it's important when we situate this here within the context of Baltimore. Violent incidents have really truly affected school-aged children in Baltimore over the past couple of years. So for families who are really apprehensive about the safety of their children, this bullying reporting system is one means of mitigating the potential escalation of harm, meaning that there's someone else who knows beyond the walls of my student's school building. There's someone else who knows and is alerted to what is happening. And so for that, that creates a sense of security for them as well. So again, we look at this as people may be more inclined to report in this way. So we think about what we have done in the past school year. This school year, I would really say we took some time to really focus on two areas. One, it was the support for capacity building of our school leaders. And then the second piece was skill building and capacity building of our students. In terms of our school leaders, we really work closely with our legal counsel office and offices of fair practices to do training at the beginning of the year during the summer at the Ops Institute. And then last year, we instituted the late winter, spring professional development. With those sessions, we were able to take more of a deeper dive into how do we actually determine that something is bullying? How do we utilize like a protocol we put in place? I often say that I'm not know about you, but I didn't go to law school. I went to Law and Order University, right? And so if I go to Law and Order University, I need a little bit more time and context with understanding how do I know this actually equates to bullying, because this is very serious. So last year, we really took time to really delve within our school leaders and our bullying and Title IX liaisons to ensure that they were comfortable with the steps they could take with investigating bullying. The second area that I will really highlight is the focus that we did in terms of working with partners to really do some bullying awareness programming and training. We did the first one with the movement team, Big Fred. We had a couple of other influencers, both locally and nationally, who did a school assembly tour. And that was really exciting for our students to really have them in place and to share personalized stories. But we really wanted to make sure we balanced out that school tour with, where we were generating energy around like, this is not cool, this is not the behavior we want to see. But we realized we also needed to balance that out with real skill development. And so really was excited that last year we really leaned into the literacy side of the work. We had a couple of partnerships with outside organizations that we were actually able to get at what bullying is, defining it, and the types of bullying through books. So books such as Khalil's Way was one of the books that we were able to use. I'm really also excited to share for a couple of those sessions. It was really focused on males and how males might experience bullying. And oftentimes that might be a vulnerable space for males, and how does that show up for you? So I'm really excited about the work that we have been able to do to really unpack and peel back the layers, not just focusing on the compliance side, but as I said, focusing more on the people and the stories behind it. And then also making sure that we're getting to a place where we're understanding what bullying is. And when we're speaking about it, we're speaking about it on the same terms. And I will turn it over to you, Chief Sivens, for the next portion of the presentation.
And I really have only two things to add to that excellent presentation. One is to stress that in addition to the targeted trainings that Ms. Stokes is sharing, we also upgraded our all staff training through an amazing collaboration with the schools office, the equity office, OIT, and human capital, so that all of our staff took a refresher this year, and we'll take it annually going forward on EEO. And then a big theme is student bullying and harassment and other modules as well. And then I just emphasize that for every bullying complaint, if it raises discrimination based on personal characteristics like race and sex and disability, there's follow-up in collaboration with the Fair Practices Department. And Director Gomez from my team has joined us, and there's stats in the document just about what we're seeing in terms of claims of discrimination-based bullying. And as in previous years, sexual harassment, disability, sexual orientation have topped the list of the most frequent types of claims, recognizing that sometimes people allege more than one protected characteristic. So really that's adding as a coda to the really important presentation here, and would welcome questions and feedback from commissioners.
Thank you for the presentation. I'll say you guys make a very balanced team. I appreciate it. I'll open the floor for questions from my fellow commissioners. Commissioner Coy, see you.
Yes, I do have one request. One thing that I always look for in compliance reports is the section focused on challenges and the reflection on that. I noticed that that was not included in this compliance report. I would love to see a follow-up email with just a couple items of what are some of the current challenges that you see. I appreciate the work that you just highlighted and all the good work that is happening to address bullying, but would like to understand a little bit more about challenges.
And apologies, commissioners. I think that the challenges really were more in the body. So it was there about what we thought were the analysis, the root cause analysis of what is causing bullying. And so figuring out, how we continue to target root causes were the core challenges. So happy to expressly tie that together, but that root cause analysis was really where we were thinking in this compliance report about the challenges.
Any other questions from my fellow commissioners? Hearing none, for the sake of time, we can respond to the board in writing, but the concern that I really want to be able to dive into looks at the reduction of these incidents. We have identified where the increase is and some of the things that have led to them. I really want to look at from the educational specialists that are for bullying prevention. What is the impact there? And will we see an increased engagement from the specialists? Do we also see a reduction in maybe incidents or maybe a reduction in suspensions because in that particular learning environment, they are implementing skills that are reducing maybe the level or the intensity of these incidents and the follow-up from them. So if we can delve into that a little bit, because the work is clear and the charge is very clear and you guys laid it out in the document. And I appreciate that. The policy stands strong, and we're, as a district, we hold to this policy. I just want to see the response to this increase, because there has been a significant increase from 99, 2000 to where we are right now. And with that increase, would want to see the impact of the interventions that we are putting in place regarding this policy. Thank you very much for the presentation. Again, you guys make a very great tandem, because we can get it both sides at the same time. And people first always works with me. So thank you. So we're going to move on if there are no other questions. And do we have, well, we have public comment tonight. Dr. Jukins, who do we have for public comment?
We had one signed up, Fred Watkins, and I thought I saw him on here earlier. I don't currently see him. So if Fred is here, if you could just let us know. But other than that, that is our only public comment this evening.
Okay. Fred, if you're on, the floor is yours. And if not, we'll just speak about tonight's partner. We usually have a partner involved. Tonight, we do not have a partner participating. Just want to take this time for everyone to encourage our partners, not just the board, staff, and community, that this is an opportunity for us to highlight the great work that our partners are doing around safety and wholeness. This is an opportunity for us to find ways to strengthen the work that we're doing collaboratively and find opportunities in areas of growth as well as success. So I encourage everyone to have partners that are doing great work, partners that need our support as a district to sign up and use this platform with safety and wholeness to help strengthen our schools and our students. And with that, we are going to close out. This is usually a longer meeting, but tonight we end on time. So I want to thank everyone for coming out, my fellow commissioners. I want to thank you all, as this is a special session for me, because I believe that the work that we do around mentorship, the work that we do around ensuring that all of our students are safe, is of the utmost importance of this committee. And as a district, we are focused on making sure that that is a priority. Uh, Commissioner Slater Harrington, please, I see your hand raised.
Chair, I just wanted to recognize and thank you and the team for such a robust agenda tonight and getting through it. And it really is meaningful. And I think it came to the heart of why we have a safety and wholeness meeting. I'm grateful for that. But I'm even more grateful that you are here. And that is not just blowing smoke or anything like that. It's an exciting time for Commissioner Muhammad and his family, and for you to prioritize this meeting. And then I want you to get off of here and go. But for you to prioritize this meeting really just amplifies your dedication to this work, the children and families in our district. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you. And with that, no quote needed tonight. Everyone have a good evening, and we will see you for our next safety and wholeness meeting. However, for those that would like, we will have a board here. We would have a board listening tour. So the board will hold a listening session at Collington Square on February the 12th, Collington Square Recreational Center, on February the 12th at 5:30. We invite everyone to attend. We invite everyone to invite 10 people along with them. And we hope to start hearing from our community and hearing directly from our students and parents around safety and wholeness, and how this committee and us as a board can be doing better to serve all of our scholars and their families. Until then, we'll see you February the 12th. Have a good night. Peace.